Harry, in Luke chapter 9, we see that an argument broke out between the disciples, right? So we're going to read from verse 46 to 48. All right, it says this: an argument started among the disciples as to which of them would be the greatest. Why would that even go through their mindset during this time? What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because Jesus certainly didn't encourage that kind of thinking. And I've often puzzled about that, like why, but then again, pride is a big deal. Like and these guys too, all came from different backgrounds. Some of them were fishermen, humble people, humble jobs, and so on. There was tax collectors, there was freedom fighters, and other people. So there was a lot of variation in background skill and knowledge in different areas. So I suppose people felt that Jesus was somebody special, and they figured who is going to be the next leader and who's the next most important person. And Jesus, they realized, was the Messiah. So he was really important. So wonder who's number two, who's number three.
Yeah, and it's another aspect too is they were coming from the Old Testament or the Mosaic Law,
Yeah.
where obedience to God equaled prosperity in the aspect of like health, wealth, and happiness. So this is like a common belief for them to think like, I'm doing the will of God, I'm following the Messiah, I'm gonna be the greatest, better than you type thing, where it's almost like a normal conversation that you would think would happen during that old covenant aspect. Would you think that's fair, Harry?
Yeah, but then Jesus was certainly wasn't. It was contrary. Of course, they know that's contrary, but of course they were doing this quietly. They were talking, but of course they realized that Jesus is somebody really special, and then but he would need people to in his kingdom and so on. And they were hoping for something like a Messiah, King David. You never know how big this thing could get. And Jesus did miracles, and yeah, and then Jesus had sent them out two by two to share the faith, to heal, and to,
Mm,
well, that's pretty amazing stuff, and how many did you heal, and how many, and how
yeah.
bad were they, and all this kind of thing. So yeah, there's opportunities would sneak in. Yes.
All right. Then verse 47, Jesus, knowing their thoughts, took a little child and had him stand beside him. So Jesus knows their thoughts. Is that like a divine attribute, or what do you think, Harry?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like Jesus does know our thoughts. Though in Jesus, so was he God, as we sometimes wonder? But we know that's a question. But we know he was the Messiah, clearly the Messiah. He had the skills that God gave him to do this. He could read people's minds just as easy as hear their words. So as he was on earth, just like he can today, our thoughts are very relevant. Actually, King David said, he says, let the thoughts of my mind and the meditations of my mind and the words of my mouth be pleasing in your sight.
Mm,
So, my thoughts are very critical, and our thoughts, of course, make actions over time, and God knows our thoughts, and if our thoughts are appropriate, yeah, and so he knew what was going on. He knew what they were thinking, and he brought this child in to make a little example for them.
yeah, exactly. And then the verse 48, then he said to them, whoever welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me, for it is the one who is least among you all who is the greatest. And that's like a really important verse to me, especially because we think greatness comes from, flaunting power, authority, and so forth. But what Jesus is saying here is taking the role up of a servant, right? So what's your thoughts on that, Harry?
Yeah, very much, very much. And in the world, of course, it's the top of the pyramid, but in the Christian faith, it's the bottom of the V. And on that whole concept is that we're at the bottom, and on one side we worship God, on the other side we serve our fellow man, and that is where we need to be. And that's what Jesus kept showing us, is that we're to be at the bottom of the V. And Jesus spoke of John the Baptist one time. He says, there's never a greater man on earth, he says, than John the Baptist, except he who was less than John is greater than him. And Jesus himself, even though he came from heaven, he took the lowest spot and he suffered more than anybody.
Mm,
Only Jesus was lower than John the Baptist, took the very, very lowest, and then he washed the disciples' feet the night before he died, and you know, that was, he was willing for the lowest of the lowest, and a servant of servants. In the bottom of the V, nobody was ever as servant oriented as he was. He came from heaven to serve us and to die for us so that we could be redeemed and be with him forever. And nobody ever served like that. And it's our duties to find ways of serving, and to just serving the Lord and serving each other, as much as lies within us, and our and to be the best, we have to be the least, and now we don't want to be fighting for that spot.
Amen. And thanks a lot for that, Harry. That explains it very well.
Yeah, thank you.